You. Um, as a child, I was often very ill. Having been born to a mother who was a 9-year-old bride, very anemic herself, I was born malnourished. So I was constantly visiting doctors. So majority of my childhood memories actually involve visiting doctors. Growing up in a tribal area in Balochistan, visiting doctors is not like here. It's very different when you go to a doctor here. We had one hospital opened by a Saudi sheikh in our village, and we had to walk to it for 40 minutes, both sides. I remember one day when I was 7 years old, my grandmother, who's an indigenous tribal woman in Balochistan, was taking me to this hospital, just like every other day we were going. It was very hot. There was a hot breeze in the air. We were both wearing our usual rubber slippers. We were walking on the hot pavement. She was wearing her long veil, covering her, not just her face, but her right eye as well, out of modesty. She was holding my hand. At one point when we were crossing a narrow street, I was like, "Grandmother, I'm really thirsty." And she stopped. And she's like, "Okay, 1 minute." She looked around, and the door she saw right close to us, she went and knocked at it. And someone was like, "Who is it?" And my grandmother's like, "We're passerbys, we're thirsty." Immediately the door opens. We are brought in, given water. Not only water, the family insisted we stay for tea and for lunch. We didn't think anything of it. This was so natural. As part of the code of honor, you welcome strangers, feed them. So we knew we were welcome anywhere. Growing up in Balochistan, surrounded by tribal communities and being part of one, I knew about honor from a very young age. This is actually my family. Forgot about this photo. I knew about honor from a very young age. And this is my tribe. The code of honor goes back a long time ago, many hundred years ago, when tribes like mine, this is my tribal area and my tribe, tribes like mine lived in very, very desperate conditions, very fragile states, in drought-stricken areas where they looked for food, water, and shelter. This is thousands and hundreds of years ago. So the code of honor, the system of honor, actually sustained them. It kept them strong. Honor, izzat, ghairat, and nang namus, the extreme unity and brotherhood meant that everybody could depend on each other. If even a poor person could actually share their food with those who were less fortunate. And if someone had a problem, they could rely on someone in the community. And if the whole community faced a problem, everybody worked hard to solve that problem. And that meant that it was very honorable to act. It was very honorable to act strong in front of everyone, no matter what the situations. Today, that kind of honor still exists. In fact, in my tribe, there's a saying, "Izzat mare pen mare temaf." It means, even if I have nothing, I should have honor. And this is beautiful, but the saddest part is in the desperate chase to keep the systems the same way as they were in the old times, the people and tribes have actually become more extreme in preserving and protecting their cultures, protecting these honors. And that means taking honor from a matter of pride and making it more about manliness, making it more about the manhood, making it more about the men in the community. And this means controlling women, wealth, and land. A lot of times, to show their extreme generosity, they would actually use women as pawns. And to protect women, they would seclude women. So if there's a problem in the conflict in the tribe, it is honorable to actually exchange daughters as brides to solve that conflict. And if your son's daughter can't find a bride for himself, it's honorable to say that you can have my child, the little girl, as a child bride. But the worst part is, if a girl makes the mistake, this is in a way to avoid dishonor. If a girl makes the mistake of falling in love or expressing free will, you can kill her to be honorable. So I was very much in love with my traditions. I grew up very happy, and despite in the poverty, I grew up very happy and in love with my traditions. But I also, just like any other cousin in the family, I was also very scared that I will make that mistake one day and I would dishonor my father. And just like that, when I was still a child, my father brought me into the room and he asked me to sit next to him. He was very serious, so I knew. I was like, this is going to be very important. There's something going on here. He's like, Khali, do you know how you will dishonor me? I froze. I thought I'd done something really wrong, and this was the day all of my freedom would go, and maybe I will be murdered. I didn't say anything. He says, Khali, you will dishonor me the day you stop bringing good grades from school. I thought I couldn't hear him correctly. He kept speaking, but everything was changing in my head. Everything that I knew was shifting, and my brain and my heart was expanding with this new knowledge. It was like a secret was spoken to me that day, and my father had really redefined honor for me. But then none of this actually prepared me for that one night. I was still a teenager. We went back to the village, and I couldn't find one of my cousins. Nobody was talking about her. People avoided this discussion as much as I would bring her. Like, people did not want me to ask where my friend was, where my cousin was. Then I discovered that my uncle, my father's eldest brother, had murdered her because she had fallen in love. This was a girl I played with 2 months ago, and she didn't exist. No one wanted to talk about her now because she had dishonored the family. This really shook me because a few months ago, my father had given me honor, gifted it to me actually, and I'd taken it and made it my own, and now that honor had gone and murdered my cousin. I was extremely angry. I was outraged, and in this rage, at 16 years of age, I started my fight against honor killings. I went door to door, mobilized young people. I mobilized people from all around the world. I went on the streets with hundreds of people, shouted against our policies, shouted against our traditions. But it's interesting, none of this was bringing the impact that I wanted. It took us years, but nothing actually was bringing any kind of impact because of how strong, how ancient this tradition is. Until in 2009, I discovered that there is a solution. And the solution was to not fight the culture. The solution was to actually use tradition to promote the culture and to redefine honor. That's what we do currently. I call it Sughar, which means skilled and confident woman, because when we go into the village, we first meet with the tribal leaders. We tell them about our intention to promote their culture, but at the same time, we educate them about what Islam says about women's rights. This is very important because even Muslims don't know what Islam says about women's rights. Trust me. And it is acceptable to go to them and talk about Islam because they would let you sit in front of them. They would let you be in that room. And this way, we share with them how women actually do have rights. And with their help, we go into the village and we make a center. And in that center, women come for 6 months to make embroidery to promote their culture, but at the same time go through a training that teaches them how they should stand against honor crimes through peer education. This has been so successful. Thank you. This has been very successful, and because it's about behavioral change, because we go and remind these tribal leaders that their dishonor is not in their, when their daughters are educated or when their daughters are outspoken. It is actually when their cultures are not being promoted, when their heritage is being lost, when their languages are not spoken anymore, and when their songs are not sung. That is dishonor for them. So this is how we fight honor killings. We go and we take the focus of honor from seclusion of women to preserving identities, to preserving the integrity of people, because that's what honor is. And this is not where I stopped. Now we have brought my foundation to the United States, and we are scaling it to thousands and thousands of women. This month, even, we are making actually 7 new centers around Pakistan. That's about 1,009 or 10 women, and I'm very, very proud to share that today. And these are how the centers look like. My dream is to go one day to 1 million women, no matter in my tribe, but anywhere around the world, and remind them that true honor is their freedom and their being outspoken and their becoming leaders. But this is not where we stop. My husband David and I actually redefine our honor in our own way. We redefine honor along with my foundation. We actually have a chai lounge, a tea lounge in America where we bring Pakistan's identity, the real stories of Pakistan, to American culture and show them what my country really is about, the cultures behind it. We have 2 locations, one in Manhattan, one in Sedona, Arizona. The second way I redefine honor is by writing my memoir that was recently published by Random House, where I urge everyone to reclaim honor, because honor is not for a specific group of people. It is for everyone. I truly believe that honor is the strength that is going to change everything in our current society. It should be a core global value, not just for tribal people, but for every single person, for activists, for citizens anywhere around the world. It is going to save us from our issues. So it's about time we take honor back for ourselves. We remind ourselves that it is ours before anyone uses it against us. Because everyone should have honor. Every woman should have honor. All of you should have honor, and I should have honor. Thank you so much.